Hey everyone, I'm back switching from host to moderator. We've got a great panel today. We're going to talk about music, media, and culture, a little bit more about the creative side of what's going on in Filecoin specifically, and then Web3 in general. So I'm going to let our panelists here tell us a little bit about their projects from their own in their own words. So if you guys want to unmute yourselves, I'm going to start maybe with you, David. Tell us a little bit about Lit Protocol. It seems like a very new project, right? Twitter account formed in August. So tell us a little bit about that.
Hey everybody, my name is David Snyder. Thanks for being here. So what Lit Protocol is a crypto primitive that provides access control in a decentralized way. So functionally, what that does is it lets blockchain users access digital and native or digitally native and other real world experiences enabled by token ownership and wallet history. Essentially, making a user's on-chain identity and reputation portable to other decentralized systems, Web2 systems, content, streaming services, etc.
Great, great, great. Sounds a little bit like Collabland. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, basically you can think about Lit Protocol, if you're familiar with Collabland, as like the decentralized and generalizable version of what Collabland provides at the application layer for Discord. So we have a lot of projects that are building native web experiences whereby a user who's either streaming payments or owns an NFT or some on-chain condition can then access some locked content or experience.
Gotcha, gotcha. I have a ton of questions to dive into around some of those use cases as we go. Over to you, Ronil. Tell us a little bit about how Audius has been doing and anything else you'd like to add.
Yeah, so excited to be here. I'm Ronil. I'm one of the co-founders of a project called Audius. It's a digital streaming service that connects fans directly with artists and exclusive new music. That direct piece is really where we see our key differentiator being, enabled by great tech like IPFS and many others in the space. So excited to be here. The project's about 4 years old now, and we serve about 6 million people on a monthly basis on the listener side, and about 100,000 artists have uploaded about 500,000 tracks now. So it's been good. It's been a good ride. A lot of music content now on IPFS via Audius, which has been fun to see.
Excellent. I feel compelled to explain a little bit since Nolan gave me a hyped up intro earlier. So I've been dabbling involved in social tokens for some time. I advise Rally, which is a social token platform. I'm part of Seed Club, which helps projects, incubate and figure out, well, I should say communities incubate and figure out if they want to introduce a token into the mix. So that's the social token bit, which I'm sure will have overlaps with as we talk about all of these things. So David, I was checking out Lit Gateway, right? So there's a bunch of different categories, things that you can unlock. Obviously, it's early days for Lit Protocol, but are you seeing any early traction? Are people more interested in one thing over another?
Yeah, I mean, some of the applications that have been built out, especially like I can talk to some of the ones that are using IPFS and Filecoin specifically, and then some of the other ones that we're seeing people use. Like the most basic one is essentially a decentralized version of Dropbox. There's a few DAOs that are using this where they can upload their files, like their white papers and their marketing materials to IPFS and then create a condition that says only members of the DAO have the capacity to decrypt and download that file. And functionally, what happens is the user has a link and they're signing a message. The nodes of the Lit protocol are verifying either that they own the NFT or that their address is listed in the member array in the DAO contract. And then they're receiving a encryption key to decrypt that content that's on IPFS. So that's been kind of a really cool way to use IPFS. Another way that some folks have leveraged IPFS and Lit protocol is in the context of unlockable HTML NFTs. So a number of people have already started creating these. As a lot of folks know, an NFT is functionally just like a pointer on a blockchain that's pointing to some file, whether it's a JPEG. But what's really interesting is that file can be an HTML file. So you can have some locked content encrypted inside of it and basically set it up such that only the owner of the NFT can unlock and view that file, kind of moving beyond the collectible, adding, starting to think about NFTs less as necessarily picture frames or movie screens, but more like web browsers that have exclusive portals to content and experiences. And so that's been really fun too. And then just another type of application that I'll mention as well that we're seeing some usage with is using this access control protocol on top of Web2 applications. So like creating token-gated Zoom meetings, token-gated Google Drive, and token-gated social experiences in some of these spatial social softwares that got very popular during the pandemic.
Yeah, no, that's super fascinating because, even as we develop this whole DAO space, right, so much of the tooling remains very, very Web 2, whether it's Zoom meetings or, Discord or Google Docs.
Mhm.
So that's super interesting. Would love to come back to you after this to see if there's actually more DAO stuff that people are using Lit protocol for. But over to you, I guess, Ronil. I think I read a headline not too long ago that you guys are now on TikTok, right? So if creators on TikTok want to use music, they can pull that music from Audius. Can you tell us a little bit about how that's gone and what impact that has had on your platform?
Yeah. So this has been a really fun integration. We've been kind of getting to know the folks at TikTok for a little while, and an opportunity kind of came up for the basic issue here is that it's like it's not super easy to upload content into TikTok directly, audio content that is, to a point where there are a number of artists in our community at Audius who have very large followings on TikTok, and they'll actually hold their phone up to their laptop speaker and rip their own song into their phone. It's just because TikTok's a mobile app, right? And that's the way most people use it. So how do you actually get an audio file into a mobile app? It's not trivial, especially on iOS. So what this integration looks like is now from the Audius app, any track that you've uploaded, you can click one button to push it directly into TikTok, and then go create content with it, do whatever you want. It was an especially fun integration, I think, because it's I think a good sort of blueprint for more broadly how Web2 companies, I think we're going to see over time, start to engage more with Web3. They're kind of gateway distribution channels and ecosystems like Audius that can help bridge this divide a little bit. Audius is a fully open source network, right? So even if our team hadn't helped the TikTok folks get this over the finish line, they still could have done it without us, right? Which is the most important, interesting aspect of any sort of decentralized tool chain, right? Removing that platform risk for developers. So yeah, all in, it's been really fun. I think we have seen, if you look at our usage over time, it's hard to specifically correlate given features, given changes with changes in that. But if you look at the charts, there definitely was a small inflection that happened around the time of that announcement, and we're seeing on the analytics that we do get from the mobile app, which we have a pretty low opt-in rate, just because people who use Web3 products tend not to want to share data with analytics providers, right? So if you hit no in that little thing, but what data we do have, we've seen pretty strong engagement with it, which has been exciting.
Yeah, it's super interesting because it's almost kind of like Web3 content getting injected into like a Web2 platform. It's kind of the opposite of what we normally see, right? One question I wanted to pose to you guys, especially because you deal with so many kind of end users, right, is how much, and especially because a lot of end users now are new to crypto. So the question is, how much crypto do you expose to the end user, right? So like, for example, I was just on the Audius website. There's not, there's no talk about the token and so on. You got to click quite a few links before you get to that bit. So maybe tell us a little bit about that, and then would love to hear your perspective as well, David.
Yeah, I think the key here is that Audius is a music distribution tool chain enabled by crypto. It's not the other way around, right? It's not a crypto ecosystem that happens to engage with music, right? We treat crypto as a sort of a technical architecture choice that allows Audius to better serve on the value prop that it gives to artists, which is that artists have direct access to their relationships with fans. Those relationships can't be taken away from them. They get all the data that is generated through that, and they get this bi-directional channel, right? The ability to engage more deeply with fans than any other platform can provide them right now. And all of those value props are fundamentally tied to the choice of Audius being built in a decentralized way and being community owned, community operated. But as an end user, you don't need to know that how architecturally something is built and works to be able to get the value from it, right? I mean, imagine if you had to understand top to bottom like Uber's or Lyft's infrastructure to be able to get a taxi, right? It's just like, I don't know, who cares, right? Who cares if they use Postgres or if they use Redis or whatever other things it may be? I just want to get from point A to point B, and I want to do it as quickly as possible. Similarly, with Audius, we focus on the use case, not like the tool chain and architecture choice that allows us to get to that use case.
Sure. Yeah, totally. David, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really interesting prompt. I mean, as it relates to the technology that we've developed around access control, just to kind of put it in context, obviously the main goal of blockchains was to create this permissionless ledger. But in order to do that, some of the initial architectural designs were obviously one, for transparency, and two, to put an asymmetric key pair, a wallet, in the hands of every user. And now that those wallets are on the web, basically, like, that's the core understanding that somebody needs to have to be able to leverage all the applications that have integrated with this access control protocol. Because functionally, because of those two conditions, public historical metadata and the user having a key, they can now interact with that metadata, get utility from that metadata, from the wallet's holdings and history to access certain things. So kind of the bar for entry, so to speak, is just understanding, like, if you have a wallet, that's something that's yours. There's sovereignty associated with that. And frankly, to me, that's one of the most exciting things about this space. I think we're just starting to see what the kind of the societal implications will be when somebody can conceive, I'm not a row in a database in this third-party platform, but I actually have something that's mine and it's powerful, right? Being able to receive funds, encrypt, decrypt, etc.
Yeah, no, totally. We have like 5 minutes left. I wanted to ask you guys a little bit of a forward-looking question. So, we've seen, for example, last year, obviously, DeFi summer. This year, I don't know what the term is, NFT spring, maybe. But all of that, you've seen phases, right? So like NFTs, for example, was very, very much like graphic art. And then we've been moving into, for example, play to earn and so on and so forth. So I guess maybe Ronil, what are you seeing? What do you think is, in the next 12 months, let's say, what verticals, categories of people, demographics might get interested and involved in this space?
Yeah, I think at least in our work at Audius, we've seen such a dramatic shift over the last year in folks' willingness to engage with these ideas and with these concepts. That's specifically within the music industry, at least, right? I think all of the bigger power brokers and players that exist in legacy music are paying attention and are like very excited about what our ecosystem is providing, which is really cool, right? I mean, it's amazing to be seeing kind of legacy groups engage with and wanting to understand and wanting to bridge this gap to what's new and what's potentially interesting for them. So I think we're going to continue to see that play out, more and more kind of folks like getting red pilled, whatever like term you want to use for it, into this crypto ecosystem. And to the extent that products like Lit Protocol and Audius can be enablers to that, like we're excited for it. There's this very powerful kind of rising tide right now that's lifting us all up. But more pointedly to your question, I do think like there's this broader shift that's already underway towards DAO-based governance around projects, and then DAOs more broadly, I think being very interesting. What remains to be seen, or what we haven't seen yet, I think is a lot of like really usable, nice tools to engage with those products, right? And I think that will be an enabler, right? I think we often forget, because we're in this like crypto microcosm, that the install base of wallets is it's hard to precisely estimate, but it's likely on the order of like single digit to possibly low double digit millions of people, and we're on a world of 7 billion people, right? Like there's a different level of kind of usability and like tooling required to get a mass audience engaged. And I'm very excited to see that tooling get developed around DAOs, right? I want to be able to see any end user who has a mobile phone, and mobile phones have like secure enclaves and all this great tech now to enable these sorts of usable experiences, be able to engage with a DAO and do cool stuff without having to write down a seed phrase and go to their safe deposit box and take 15 other steps, right? Buy some ETH to talk to the contract.
Yeah, you and me both. How many seed phrases have we lost? But that's a perfect segue to David, actually, to talk about DAO tooling and what else you see coming up.
Yeah, I think Reniel nailed that around kind of incumbent players creating bridges to engage a crypto audience, and then certainly the DAO tooling. And I think that's that's also the big story, forward looking both to the next year and beyond. That's, to me, the big promise of crypto is like global scale platform cooperatives. Like a user-owned Uber or a driver-owned Uber that's all across the world has some pretty phenomenal implications in terms of like income inequality and things of that nature. As it relates to DAO tooling, a lot of the stuff is like that I'm seeing and that we've been helping with is pretty just like core infrastructural stuff right now around how to do payments, how to do information sharing, task management. We're in the midst of integrating with document tooling called clarity.so, whereby in the document, it's like, okay, if you want to claim a task, you must own this given NFT, things like that, where the DAO tooling starts to become layered. It's not like if you have the NFT or not, you can see it, but there's different stages, different working groups that have access and rights over certain things.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Where can people go to find out more about Lit Protocol?
Litprotocol.com.
All right, and Audius, your
Audius.co, AUDIUS. Yeah.
Awesome. I was just going to say as well, you mentioned platform cooperatives, and this is one of my favorite books ever, which is Trebor Schultz. He came up with platform cooperative.
He's the OG platform co-op guy.
Yes. All right, over to you, Nolan.